Morning and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host Dr. Jean Dorio on your hometown station KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And again, speaking of quality of life, woohoo! You're here, Dr. Thomas Palucki.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you.
Yes. And what are we talking about today?
Well, I was thinking about quality of life as you introduced the show and how it's so misrepresented, especially in the senior community, as far as how do you achieve this quality of life. And if you listen to most of the information out there, it's going to be with any number of pills to take to enhance your quality of life. And unfortunately, too many people find out the hard way that that is not, in fact, accurate.
That's correct.
And so it's a tough situation because everybody wants an easy answer to their pain. Everybody wants an easy answer to whatever condition they're suffering with. So the pharmaceutical companies for the past, let's say 30 years have really capitalized on this easy answer. Just take a pill.
Just take a pill and it'll make you feel better. I disagree with that.
And there's, unfortunately, a lot of money to put behind that message. So we're constantly being inundated with this message of, well, if you don't have quality of life, it's just because you're not taking our pill. And the easy answer is ask your doctor if it's right for you. Now, the problem is if you ask your doctor
is going to write you a prescription for a pill.
Your doctor is going to do whatever you ask him to do because that's what
doctors
they have to. Because here's the reality of it.
Well, they don't have
well,
to.
they don't have to. But here
most of my colleagues will not.
Okay.
They'll listen to the story and make their own judgment. They say.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're indoctrinated just as well as the public is indoctrinated.
And not just indoctrinated. It's a matter of making a living. So you can spend 5 to 15 minutes with a patient, write a prescription, and get compensated for it. Or you can do a deep dive, spend 45 minutes finding out all the issues, all the realities of the situation, where their mobility, where their exercise, where their rest and relaxation, where their nutrition, where all the things that contribute,
their personal life,
what their personal life
going on in the background.
Exactly. What their personal life is all about, and try to counsel them as a caring physician and get paid less than if you just spend a few minutes, hear a couple buzzwords, write a prescription, hand that to them, and walk out the door. And so the reality is that you can, unless you're willing to operate outside of the system, and more doctors are these days, and unless you're dealing with a independently wealthy clientele, because most people in this age group are on fixed incomes and relying on Medicare to take the major hit on their medical expenses, then you're going to be stuck with the easy answer, which is always going to be, take this to the pharmacy.
And unfortunately, in some cases, medicine doesn't do any good anyway.
Well, that's a whole nother topic. I believe there is a place for everything. My strength in what I do in functional medicine and the kind of work that I do takes people from that gap, that huge gap that is in between a real medical emergency and self-care. So there's a huge gap that is not being surfaced by conventional medicine. They're just not equipped to do it. The insurance companies won't reimburse a doctor for doing that for their patient, and the pharmaceutical industry, who pretty much dictates the doctor's education, the doctor's practice protocols, the doctor's credibility at this point, doesn't want to see that because they want to sell their products.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's setting up a treatment plan for our patients, and unfortunately, for what you're saying is the number one thing on the list for doctors is give them a drug.
Yeah.
Whereas there are other treatment modalities, and of course it depends on the situation that the patient is brought to that doctor and the time that that doctor has had in trying to sort out and tease through all the problems that are going on, whether they be physical or mental. And they could include like physical therapy, occupational therapy, they could include exercise, they could include diet, they could include counseling and going maybe referral to a psychologist. I mean, these are all things that could be a part of a treatment plan, but it just seems that the number one treatment plan, the number one thing on the treatment plan is a drug.
Sure. It's when I say easy, I say that with a caveat. It's the easy answer. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's not the right answer for the overwhelming majority of people because it's not going to give what is promised to them. What is promised to them is freedom. Freedom to be independent, freedom to get up and move the way that they want to, freedom to be able to go out and socialize, freedom to not have to spend your whole day scheduling doctor's appointments, going from one doctor to a different doctor to a different doctor, because now you're having to treat all these symptoms mostly caused by the medications that you're currently taking.
Exactly.
And it's a vicious cycle, especially for the senior community. I have patients who come to me, and I'm rarely, if ever, the first doctor that they see about a problem. But more often than not, we get to the root of it because I'm trained differently. I have to. I don't have the luxury of saying, all right, well, here, just take this to the pharmacy. I have to work. I have to work to get my patients better. And we have some pretty interesting options for people. If it's not just about reducing the stress on the joints, on the muscles, on the nerves physically, there are some other options available. And as long as the person really wants that, we make it happen for them. But they have to realize that Medicare puts me in a very, very narrow box of what they expect from me and what they're willing to compensate me for. And as long as the person is willing to work with me outside of that box, then we can do a pretty great job at any age with pretty much any condition. So much better only because I can talk to them. I can talk to them about their nutrition. I can talk to them about their activities. I can talk to them about all the things that contribute to their problem instead of just the easy answer, write a scription, take this to the pharmacy.
There's several doctor shows on TV now, and one of them was on last week, and they were in an emergency room, and there was a new director of the emergency room who was a physician, and her requirement was for all their physicians, you cannot spend more time than 10 minutes with the patient.
Right.
That was it. And she'd point at her watch to the doctors saying, you take too long, you're taking too long. So, and with some patients, certainly you can be done in 5 minutes.
Right.
But for our senior community, it's a different story.
Sure.
They have more complicating issues. They're on different medications, and the background and psychology of things that are going on with our senior patients sometimes overwhelms them. And 10 minutes is typically not going to do the job, but that's just the way the TV shows are depicting it. And not only that, in real life, it's happening. And our senior patients who are listening right now know that.
Yeah.
And, so we try to get our patients to find a doctor who, like you, who will listen and, get to the bottom line of the things that are going on and minimize the prescription writing.
As much as possible. Whenever I see a dramatic shift in either one of my patients or someone related to one of my patients, 9 times out of 10, it's because of medication.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean a dramatic shift in a good way. I mean a bad dramatic shift.
Mm-hmm.
Like they all of a sudden have Alzheimer's, like out of nowhere. They
Mm-hmm.
just have no cognitive ability. They can't remember anything. They can't, or they're fainting, or they're having all these digestive issues. 9 times out of 10, it's because of the medications they're on.
Absolutely. I mean, just on this show, the Senior Hour, you're saying a very righteous thing and an important thing that our seniors need to understand. When you see a dramatic change in a person's problem, it could be anything. It could be anything. But one of the places you need to look is at the medication, because they're on so many medications, it could be causing a problem.
Yeah.
And, my best example with our mother, she, in about a 4-month time period, she passed out 3 times. And we didn't know why. And, she was a little younger at the time, in her 80s. And we simply looked at her medications, made the adjustments. And in the probably 7 or 8 years now, subsequently, she has not passed out. We just balanced out her medications and controlled their vital signs, blood pressure, everything has been fine.
Unfortunately, not everybody has a doctor like you as a son. So
well, and that the only thing is you do, because if you're listening to this show, you can get that kind of advice that allows you to temporize the things that are going on, related to your health. And, why are we out here broadcasting this information? Because, we're at your side. We're trying to help you out. We're trying to give you information that will, improve your quality of life. And no, you don't, not everybody has a daughter or a son who's a physician, or a relative who's a physician. But that should not stop you from seeking the advice that we are trying to give here, and that you can also get on the internet and other places as well. Sometimes it's good advice. Sometimes it's not good advice.
Right.
But, this is a logical world, and common sense, abounds, and, you don't have to, take everything other than with a grain of salt. So we let that happen, and we try to get the best information we can that applies to us. So, yeah, you do not have to go to medical school. You do not have to have a thick medical book in front of you and trying to page through it and figure it out. It doesn't work that way anymore. The highway here right now that we have, the information highway, is there for you, and medicine is a part of that. So, yeah, I think my mom is proud to have doctors in her family, but she also knows that I take care of many other people, but I think there are others out there and other ways of getting that information that she got. And just telling people these stories today on the air, through you, Thomas, this is great for them to hear, because I will bet you at least one person in our listening audience today will start looking at their medications or their loved one's medication to make sure that things are balanced out, especially if something starts to happen.
Yeah. I would love it to see that not every answer comes in a bottle of pills.
There you go.
But I don't think that's going to happen, just because there's so much money involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm okay with capitalism. I'm okay with capitalism even in healthcare. I think there's a place for that. I just don't think that
when you separate greed and capitalism, I'm great with capitalism, but when it's greed and when it's hurting people in the process, that's not good. We know so many great business people out here in Santa Clarita that are honest and forthcoming and are not going to rip you off. They give you good products and good service. But there are a few out there that just won't do that.
Right.
And, we just have to watch out for them, especially if they're in the healthcare field.
And I think when the driving force of what gets research and what drives the cost of a medication is not how expensive it is to extract this medication or formulate or synthesize it, but what they can get out of the public for it is the number one driving cost. Most of these medications literally cost pennies to make, and they can charge up to hundreds of thousands of dollars for a medication that costs the manufacturer a few cents to make. That's obscene. So there's capitalism, and then there's something very wrong. And there's a lot of very wrong going on in healthcare right now.
And they attribute it to, and the Congress people just had a whole panel of executives from the pharmaceutical companies, and they were asking them, why is the cost so high? And they were saying it's what the market will take. What that means is what people can pay. And is that fair and adequate? Well, I don't think it is. I mean, because how many times did they say yesterday, research and development? That's where we need to have more money to go. But if you really look at the statistics on what you were just mentioning, the statistics show that it's really going into their back pocket.
Well, development is a slippery slope. So research, yes, it costs a lot to do research. It costs a lot to do good research.
Yes, it does.
But that's not the point. Most of the expense for the drug companies is convincing everybody that their product is what everybody needs.
Yes.
That's development. And that's built into research and development. So yes, there is a legitimate expense of research, but once the research is done, the research is done. And then the development is selling it not just to the public, because you would probably know better than I do. It was around 1980 when the drug companies could sell direct to the public. Prior to that, they couldn't, or something like that. I can't remember.
As opposed to the middleman.
Yeah. Well, having to actually have a doctor prescribe medication. It was straight to the television set, like, you need this. And, oh, by the way, you might want to ask your doctor if you really need it or not. But that all shifted within the past 40 years, for sure. I know that. They weren't able to do that prior to that. But there's just, it's insane now. It's absolutely insane. So the development costs are convincing straight to the public, and then all of the, I see it. I'm acutely sensitive to it, so I see it when your favorite television character slips in something about vaccines or whatever, or to make it
subliminal.
Yes.
And then you find out that, well, Harvard Medical School, which most people consider the gold standard. I have a different idea of that because I was going in a different direction. But Harvard got caught being paid off for research by the people who wanted them to tell them, to sell their product. And if this is happening at Harvard Medical School, it's happening everywhere.
Yes, it is. And I think we probably need to take a break. And we'll be back in a few minutes. There's a couple of areas I'd like to approach, too.
Sure.
I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Little Eye Leaders is the newest preschool in the Santa Clarita Valley. At Little Eye Leaders, our outstanding teachers lead with intellect, perspective, and heart. That means our programs provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere to meet the unique needs of each child. We believe that play is a powerful form of learning for young children. That's why our kids have every opportunity to learn through the magic and excitement of play. Parents, schedule a tour today by calling 303-0400 or online at littleeyeleaders.org.
There are many memorable restaurants in Santa Clarita, but 3 words stand out from the crowd. Mom can cook.
Mamá puede cocinar.
Mom can cook the best Thai food on this side of the planet.
Mama fait la cuisine.
No matter what language you use, Mom Can Cook says it all. Thai food at its finest, all your favorite dishes and Mom's very own original specialties. Experience it on Soledad by the Canyon Country Post Office.
Mama, 요리가 좋으세요?
Mom Can Cook.
Join us for a fun, memorable evening with Grammy Award-winning American folk rock singer-songwriter Mark Cohn.
Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues in the middle of the pouring rain.
Mark Cohn, singing his classic hit Walkin' in Memphis. Coming to the Canyon Club Agura, Wednesday, March 6th. Joining Mark Cohn is Santa Clarita's own Savannah Burrows.
Maybe with someone else I'll spend my time with. Maybe with
Savannah Burrows and Mark Cohn.
I'll fall right in love with what would Taylor do.
And I said, ma'am, I am tonight walking in Memphis.
It all happens at the Canyon Club in Agura, Wednesday, March 6th, featuring Mark Cohn and Savannah Burrows. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Are you at least 55 and have a torn irreparable rotator cuff? If so, you may qualify for a no-cost clinical study of an investigational shoulder implant. Visit rotatorcuffstudy.com. Learn more about the study being conducted at Southern California Orthopedic Institute's Valencia Clinic at rotatorcuffstudy.com. See a video of the device and get more information on how to enroll at rotatorcuffstudy.com.
That's rotatorcuffstudy.com, rotatorcuffstudy.com.
Sponsored by Microair Surgical Instruments.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio.
On your hometown station, KHTS. We're speaking with Dr. Thomas Pilecki, and we've been talking about quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the interesting things I found, having had psoriatic arthritis for many, many years, and being prescribed medication, and all of a sudden find out there's a side effect that nobody knew about, or maybe they did know about but didn't advertise. I ended up with lymphoma, with cancer.
Well, they do actually say that in that long blurb at the end. Yeah.
Now they do.
Yeah.
It's been probably within the last 5 years that they've started saying, and possible side effects are, and here comes cancer. I've heard it because Enbrel, that's another form of
the
treating,
biologics.
Yes, and because I took methotrexate, a shot a week, for over 6 years, and then they stopped making it. And then that's when I had the symptoms, severe indigestion, and I never had indigestion in my life. Come to find out, it was lymphoma,
right?
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, as a result, a possible result of the use of all that methotrexate. But now, as I say, they do refer to, and I call it more quality of life, because once you know those possible side effects, you may decide, wait a minute, maybe I really don't need this. Maybe I can do something else.
Right.
Like go to a chiropractor, because you have helped me tremendously.
Thank you.
And you know that because you've been able to tell. Because I've come into you at times when I'm all screwed up, which I am right now. So I'll see you in a few minutes. But it does. It's amazing what non-prescription treatment can do for you if you look into it. You know, and you agree, don't you, Doc?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's it's an ongoing problem. There are multiple treatment modalities, as we mentioned, and neglecting the many of them that are out there and enhancing one in particular, taking drugs, is problematic. And it is more so even with our seniors that have different metabolisms, different digestion and absorption and things like that. It just has different effects. Sometimes it's not as strong and you have to increase the dosing, or it's too strong even at low dosing. So these things, have major effects on our senior population. And sometimes, unfortunately, it will not enhance one's quality of life. It will ruin one's quality of life. And, Dr. Pilecki, you were saying that, all of a sudden you have someone whose their mental status is deranged and they're having problems, and of course you immediately you're thinking, they got Alzheimer's or some terrible chronic disease that has developed. But in reality, like we said, look at the medication. This is going to be a key role, and if our listeners take anything away from the show, they'll learn that.
And it's not always a commonly understood side effect. When you start having multiple different drugs for conditions, let's say blood pressure is a common one, and I'm not even going to get into statins. But let's just stick with things like blood pressure, congestive heart failure. So they're on diuretics, they're on blood pressure medications, they're on maybe a beta blocker or something like that. They're on these groups of medications that are very common in the senior community, and one in itself may not have the side effect that's happening with that person. But when you have 3 different ones, that's a totally different. It becomes like a jigsaw, like a combination lock. There's all these different variables that even the best doctor of pharmacy can't predict. As soon as you start mixing and matching all of these things with somebody who is already facing all the challenges that we all face with something in the order of 80,000 chemicals that we're exposed to daily in the air, in the food, in the water. We all have to deal with that, and that's challenging enough. But add 80 years of that, and maybe the liver isn't showing up on a liver test, but it's not doing its job as efficiently or as good as it should. And the kidneys are not doing their job as good as they should, and the digestive tract is not doing its job as good as it should. Maybe not to the level where it's going to show up in a standard blood test, but it's not able to deal with this. And then all of a sudden, you're taking 5 different prescription medications, and any one of them can cause a problem, but 5 altogether, 5 every day, all the time, after months of your detoxification pathways being jammed up with this stuff, all of a sudden you got some problems that you didn't have before. And that's the biggest issue. I'm not against pharmacology. I mean, everything has its place. But the way that it's supposedly the answer to everybody's problem in this day and age is absolutely obscene. And there's so much better options out there, and they're not that hard. It's not, you don't have to go study with a yoga master. Now you can turn on the TV, and if you know where to look, you can get yoga instruction, you can get Tai Chi instruction, you can get daily exercises that are designed for quality of life, for longevity. Not this crazy stuff that would hurt the average teenager. There's no reason for that for anybody, as far as I'm concerned, unless you're just really all about that. But for us, for anybody over 50, I think the best idea is something where you focus on good, functional movements on a daily basis. Even walking is medicine. If you can just walk at a brisk pace, and that's a variable for some people, if you can walk for 25 minutes a day at a pretty good pace, research shows that's better than many medications out there for many of the conditions that they're supposed to be able to treat.
Another good thing is getting on one of those bicycles. I have one of those at home.
A stationary bicycle?
Stationary bike. And
so that's okay, and I'm not poo-pooing any type of exercise, but I like walking so much better for so many different reasons. If somebody can walk, they should walk. But a bicycle is a piece of machinery, so whenever you add technology to physiology, there's compromise.
That's true, but you still have to maneuver that bicycle. You
I
still have
understand.
to pedal, and you're using your body to do that with. Pedaling, because I feel it all up in here when I pedal, especially if I put it on a hard pedal. If I have to really push hard, and I try to increase as I sit on that bike and pedal. And it's amazing. After a while, you've been pedaling so much, and you make it harder and harder, it becomes easier. That's what has surprised me. Because getting out and walking sometimes is hard to do for me.
But how many people are going to actually get on a bicycle, go out and walk? Most people do not do that.
Right.
And that, the way to really fight the propaganda back is to understand that you do have to exercise, understand you do have to have a particular diet for you. You cannot be 10 to 30 to 80% overweight from the category you are in. And you should be mindful of your genetics, about your parents and your siblings, and knowing that they have high blood pressure, and you might have it too. They have, their cholesterol has been high and they've had a heart attack. You should be aware of that too, and doing appropriate screening tests for ailments and diseases is important. Other than just starting and taking a drug, you should be aware of the background noise in each one of our lives that we have to adhere and be mindful of.
Absolutely, and especially here in our listening audience in Southern California, we just went through a cold snap, but it's already coming out of it. There was no frost on the ground this morning.
There was yesterday morning.
Yeah, I know. I know. It got cold. It snowed last week, but I was tanning the next day, which is L.A., so it's all good. Just getting out for a walk is powerful medicine. And I understand some people, because of their ankles or their knees or their hips or whatever, are going to have a major issue with walking. So maybe that's not for them. But for everybody else, if you can walk, and I'm not saying this in a metaphorical way, walking is some of the best medicine on the planet.
That's right. I agree with you.
It is. Outperforms so many medications for so many different conditions. A 20-minute brisk walk is phenomenal medicine. And most people have access to it. Most people.
And a challenge is, too, if you live in a hilly area like I do, the streets go up.
Even better.
Yeah,
if you can handle it, even better.
Force yourself to go up, then it's nice. don't have to struggle to walk down. But then up comes another hill, another street that goes uphill, and it's good for you. It really is, because it pushes you.
And the other thing that one can do, because there's a small population who's listening right now who are confined to their homes. They're not able to really walk much. They have a walker or a cane, or they're in a wheelchair. But what Barbara used to do in the past was water aerobics. And you don't have to do water aerobics per se, but if you walk in water and you have access to being able to get into a pool, friend's pool, neighbor's pool, family pool, and hopefully a pool that is in our community, and walk in that pool for 10, 20 minutes a day, that will help offset the gravity and, allow you to build some muscle tone, just like walking would do.
And if transportation isn't an issue, I know some of the local gyms that have pool facilities take Medicare. You can go there. You don't have to pay for a gym membership.
Yeah, they and since I know, it depends on your plan that you have. And, you have your Medicare. For listeners, some of them know and some of them don't yet know, but there are different plans. And I have a Plan F, which allows me, it's like Medicare Part D is drugs, right? Part A, Part B, Part D. But F allows me to have membership, but unfortunately, as of January 1st, everything was free, and now you have to pay half the cost, which is about $20 per month for me. But, that's worth it. That's worth it for people to have. So, yeah, you do have the ability to have access, but I tell you, even if you don't have that kind of plan, you can find people in your community, if you want to get out there, who will say, hey, come on, I'll watch you and I'll be your lifeguard, and we'll do the buddy system, and we'll walk in the pool, or we'll do it together.
And part of my program in my office, for people who need that information, I know Barbara had a personal trainer, so I didn't get involved with that part of her life, but some people can't afford a personal trainer. But when you become my patient, it is critical that you're doing some homework, that you're doing some exercise. And if I know that you're not under the care of a personal trainer at a nice facility, we'll work out a program that you can do at home with no special equipment to get the benefit, because you need it. There's no question about it. There'd be very few people who would argue this point, that you need a certain amount of exercise.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the less you get of it, the more problems, the more compounded problems you're going to have. And then when you start taking medication to deal with those problems, it starts a vicious cycle of less activity, more medication, more toxics, and less ability to deal. So that pretty picture that they paint in the commercial is just a complete fantasy. There's no reality to that at all, but it works.
Yeah, and you don't want to be at the mercy of these pharmaceutical companies, and by
dependency,
not getting out,
chemical dependency.
Yeah, you're stuck. And so the little things, we talk about, do preventive treatment of exercise beforehand, so you don't have to get to the point where you're walking into your 10-minute visit with your doctor and they just tear off a script and send you to the pharmacy. That doesn't work. So don't be susceptible. Don't be at their mercy. Fight back, and fight back early. And by doing that, your care and your health and your quality of life will be better.
I've been in the prevention business side of healthcare for 30 years. It's a hard sell. People don't want to know about what they need to do right now that is going to cause them some hardship, some discomfort, some effort on their part to try to prevent something that may or may not happen 10, 15, 50 years from now. So I gave up on that. I'm talking about real-time quality of life, more energy, more free movement, feeling better, waking up, sleeping better, having better, clearer thoughts and more stable emotions in real time. That's what I talk to my patients about now, not trying to prevent a heart attack or a stroke or cancer or any of that, because it's not real to anybody. The future is not real to anybody. How they feel right now and what they have to give up right now to deal with right now is the only thing that's real to anybody. So we talk in terms of quality of life and not what's going to happen tomorrow. But right now, what can you do right now to feel better right now, look better right now, be able to care for another person right now, have the energy, have the emotional energy, the mental clarity, the physical energy in order to participate in life. As far as we know, this is all we get.
That's right.
And it would be such a shame just to spend the rest of it in a medical stupor, sitting in front of a television and just have it all slip away from you. And I know there are some people out there right now that's their situation.
No purpose. And you have to find it, though. You have to seek it. Preventively, if you know that, you have done something about it already, like many of our listeners have done. But there are some, like you said, they're not doing that.
Yep.
They're not practicing preventiveness, and they've lost their purpose. So for those caregivers who are out there, and those individuals who are out there, those seniors, find that purpose. Go to our senior center, and I think it will, be active in our community. There's so many things to do. And yeah, we had frost on the rooftops and a little bit of snow, but that's it, man. We're done. We'll get it maybe one time more at the most, but it's going to be spring for us, and you have to get out, find that purpose.
You absolutely do. And our purpose here right now is to take a break. Right? Yes, we are. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
You just had an accident. You're okay, but worried your car will never look the same. Your vehicle may be the second biggest investment you'll ever make. Give it the care it deserves at Body Shop 661.
Hi, this is Caesar from Body Shop 661. If you had an accident, you get to choose the auto body facility you want. Our full collision repair center works with all vehicles, foreign and domestic, and we handle all insurance companies.
Body Shop 661 off Ruther behind Home Depot.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Jean Dorio with my co-host Barbara Cochran on your hometown station, KHTS. We're talking with Dr. Thomas Palucki about preventive care and purpose, and try to figure out what our senior listening audience need to roll through life. And of course, we were talking about the commercialization of drug use and drug pushing in our society, but that tends to handicap people to a high degree where they can't get appropriate good medical advice like you and I both give.
Yeah. So maybe joining a committee, joining an organization, a nonprofit, some kind of charity is asking too much for some people. I get that. Maybe there's no local family. Maybe there's no support system. Maybe you've outlived some or most of your friends. I can understand that too. So what does purpose mean to someone like that?
Yeah, it's tough.
I have a suggestion. There's beings that need you as much as you need them. And the life you save may be your own by adopting a shelter pet.
There you go.
Go to the local Castaic shelter, and these animals are amazing. We have 3 rescues. They're, if nothing else, they make me take them for a walk every day. They make me care for them. They make me play with them. And if I had no other responsibility in my life, I think that would be a pretty good trade for saving their lives. Because the feeling of contribution that you get even on such a small scale of being able to take care of another living being is huge.
Huge.
That's medicine on so many levels. Oh, you aren't kidding. You aren't kidding. And my kitty cat, she lost her sister a few months ago, and she's been grieving. I know she has by her actions. But if when I get up in the morning, she's ready to eat. And we go down the hallway, and she'll sit there, row, row, you know, and I'll feed her, and she'll eat. And okay, let's go down the hall, and we'll take the paper and go out and sit in the backyard for a little while. And she has to go out there. I don't let her out unless I'm with her, because there are too many bad things out there.
Yeah.
But the consolation she gives me is absolutely incredible.
And cats are pretty independent. They don't. Here's the difficult part with cats is dealing with the litter box. That's going to be the big deal with cats, as opposed to dogs. You can just let out and
that's right.
Hopefully take for a walk. But the nice thing about cats are that they'll come to you when they want to come to you and give you nice affection. A lot of times at night they'll cuddle up with you,
or she sleeps around my head.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
And then they're pretty independent for the most part for the rest of the day, so they're not, constantly needing you. So there's good and bad both in cat people and dog people, but it's all good. And here's the disturbing fact that shelter cats rarely get adopted.
I know, and it's so sad.
So if you have any desire to be saving a life, then adopt a shelter cat, because they're living on borrowed time.
That's right, I know. And I've thought about getting another one with her, and I'm thinking that might not be the best thing to do. I've had her for 16 years.
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, as soon as she passes, I will get a shelter cat. I absolutely will, because she has done more for me in the last several weeks than most human beings could.
Yeah.
Because she'll yowl for me, and I'll go back into the bedroom she's on my bed, and she'll look at me and come up to me and snuggle. Literally snuggle. And if she doesn't think she's had enough snuggling, I walk out, she'll yowl again. It's amazing. It's almost as though she's human.
Yeah.
Because she picks up on my mood also. And she knows I need some attention. I need some love. And at night, she's all around my head. Just sleeping right here. I can sleep. I can put my head on her tummy, and she won't move, and I'll go to sleep like that. But it is, animals are incredible to help keep you going in so many ways.
Especially if you are stuck. If you are stuck at home, that could be a really great purpose for you.
And some people think they're stuck when they really aren't.
Well,
so we have to differentiate those as well. And, my hope will be that, people know that already. And, having a pet is great. Some people are allergic to dander and fur and things like that.
Then
so
try fish.
Try fish. Yeah, it's great. There are other
fish
things.
Tank.
You got to be creative in your thought. You're right, Barb.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, you're right. But once again, the senior center, volunteering, going to the hospital or senior center, going to church. These are all things that one can do to make sure that they're not lonely and they do have purpose. So we've had a constellation of whole thoughts and ideas here about how one can maintain and sustain their quality of life, going from drugs to everything else. But I think it's a good conversation because we talked about having a relative who might be a doctor, but we have come into your home today to give you advice as if we are your relative. So hopefully you've heard what we've said, accept some of it, and maybe agree with it too, but understand that you can improve your quality of life. Dr. Pilecki, if people want to get a hold of you and get that advice, how do they do that?
Well, the office is on Peachland, where the pharmacy is. Most people know where where Valencia Pharmacy is, on Peachland. I'm literally right across the hallway. The number is 661-753-9340.
So that's 753-9340. Dr. Pilecki,
Yes.
a great conversation.
Thank you.
I think giving just super advice for our senior stay, just like you were their son. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. We are sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.